What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and here we are taking a look at the Havoc Demon Hunter. Blood Elf model on this one. It looks pretty good. Now, this thing starts off really slow. Starting at level 98, you work yourself to 100 and you get into the questing, and you only get talents from level 100 to level 102, 104, 106 at that progression. This thing started off extremely slow, but as I got more and more into it, all the way up to level 110, the gameplay changes drastically from what it is at the beginning. Starts off very simple and becomes a little bit better, or you can still make it fairly simple. With that, let's go ahead and move on to the abilities. So here's the Demon Hunter's spellbook, Havoc spellbook. Blade Dance, pretty simple ability, guys. What this does is it's actually going to be best on 2+ targets. It's going to be like an AoE cleave, and it increases your chance to dodge by 100% for 1 second. So it works really good out in the open world for dodging physical abilities. And we'll go ahead and show this to you real quick. I'm going to zoom out a little. But here it is, Blade Dance. And there's the animation, guys. It looks really sick. There's a lot of mobility to this spec, and you can even see it through the animations. The other ability that you've got is Blur. It increases your chance to dodge by 50% and reduces all damage taken by 35% for 10 seconds. And we'll go ahead and, there you go, there's the animation for that. Nothing too great. Chaos Nova, 30 Fury, instant, 1 minute cooldown, unleashes an eruption of fell energy, stunning all nearby enemies for 5 seconds and dealing a pretty decent amount of chaos damage. This is great control, guys, and it also has some damage on top of it. Plays out really nice, and this is what it looks like. Maybe let's get some there it is. That's what it is. Alright, so Chaos Strike, this thing is your go-to single target damage ability, and as you can see, this slices your target for 137,000. Critical strikes do not consume Fury, so if you've got your Fury to where it's almost maxed out and you keep critting with this thing, it will not drop down. It'll drop down for a second and jump it right back up, so you just keep spamming that whatever button you've got it on, but this is going to be your main bread and butter damage spell. And it gets modified through metamorphosis, but we'll go over that a little bit more here in a few. Consume Magic, this is your interrupt. Whenever you end up using this and you get it successfully done, though, not only is it going to stop the spell casting and lock them from that school of magic for 3 seconds, but it's going to generate 50 Fury. So this is excellent for keeping your Fury up, and it gives you that benefit, kind of like Pummel used to. I don't know if it still does on live. I have yet to end up going over and testing again. Darkness, this is a cool little radius survivability cooldown. That's probably the best way to put it. But it's instant, it's a 3-minute cooldown, summons darkness around you in an 8-yard radius, cloaking friendly targets and granting 15% chance to avoid all damage from an attack, last 8 seconds. And basically, it just puts a big pool of purple stuff down. A lot of tanks get confused by this ability currently, and they are pulling them out of it, so just hopefully once they learn, they'll know that that's good. But it's good on the tank knowing that they're being aware on it. Then you've got Demon's Bite. This is your filler spell, guys. It's a quick attack. It does decent physical damage, but this is going to be your main Fury generation. It generates 20 to 30 Fury. Pretty interesting ability. Nah, not really. It's spammable, guys. And this is basically how you're going to jump up, and then you're going to end up using Chaos Strike for single target, and that's the way it's going to play out. Fell Eruption's a talent. We'll go over that later. I-Beams. I-Beams is the, it's a 45-second cooldown, but this thing hits really damn hard. Now, if you end up rating it, it does a very high amount of chaos damage over its channeled time, and then it also always critical strikes. So here you've got it, boom, 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 boom. You can see it hitting both targets. You're going to want to line it up, and I'm still in Metamorphosis due to a talent, and we'll go over that later. Fell Eruption's another talent. This is also a great piece. We'll go over that later. Fell Rush. Okay, so this is going to rush forward and incinerating anything in your path. Little bit of chaos damage. Not so useful because of the range that it does, but it's great for first initial charging into groups, and here we are. We'll go ahead and Fell Rush, and that's it. You just basically run back and forth. It does have a cooldown now, unfortunately. It used to have 2 charges, and, well, it still does. It just bugged out the first time. But this is what it's going to do, guys. It's not that great. It's, like I said, it's great for getting back into combat. It helps with the mobility quite a bit. But other than that, damage on it, it's meager. Fellblade's a talent, we'll go over that later. Then you got Fury of the Illidari. This is your artifact ability, and it does a good amount of damage over 3 seconds to all nearby enemies. Now, the thing about this is, the Fury of the Illidari is actually an AoE ability, and a lot of melees seem to be getting this. But you'll see, here it is, and I just throw them down, and they're spinning around doing their damage. Not a whole hell of a lot going on there. It's a fire and forget on a 1-minute cooldown. You've got Glide. Yeah, and you can see that I've got a glyph for Fell Wings, so my wings turn green. And basically, that's Glide, buddy. You can either have this ability out and hit it on your own, or you can just double jump and then hit your spacebar again, and it'll automatically turn it on. It's pretty nice. It works really well. And so far it's been very useful in a lot of different situations. Imprison, this is just going to be a general CC. They're not going to be able to be CC'd, obviously, because they're dummies. But it just imprisons the target for 1 minute. Damage will cancel this effect, and it limits 1, but it's only effective on demons. Metamorphosis, your big cooldown. This is basically, it's going to leap you into the air, and it's with explosive force, and it's going to deal pretty high amounts of damage. And then the other thing it's going to end up doing is it's going to change you into a demon, guys. And what this does is it's going to greatly empower your Chaos Strike to become Annihilation. Alright, let's go ahead and check this out. The model's pretty cool. Alright, yeah, maybe let's get this thing to where I can't get it to straighten out too well. Let's back it up. But there is somewhat of the model. It's a little cut off. So what Metamorphosis is going to end up doing is it's going to transform your Chaos Strike into Annihilation, which is going to do an insane amount of chaos damage. And it still applies with the critical strikes not consuming Fury. And then it's going to change Blade Dance also. What it's going to change Blade Dance into... Give me a second, I'll swap it back over. I love the way to cheese this. It's going to turn it into Death Sweep, and it does a lot of amazing damage also. So just something to remember, guys. This is your main damaging cooldown. You've got ways of going back and forth into it through talents. We'll go over all that here soon. And it's on a 5-minute cooldown, though, so you want to time this very well with certain other trinket procs or abilities, potions. There's going to be a time that you're going to want to use this because your damage spikes by a ton. And we'll show you in the logs how much it actually spikes. But it's a really, really solid amount of damage. With that, we'll go on to Spectral Sight. It's instant, 30-second cooldown. Allows you to see enemies and treasures through physical barriers. Basically, you're going to click this thing and there's the enemies. Obviously, being in the Order Hall, there's not going to be any treasures, but you'll normally see them as a purple chest, or they'll light up as purple. Throw Glaive, exactly that. You throw a glaive, it's going to bounce and ricochet up to 2 additional enemies, and it does a decent amount of damage, but it's on a 10-second cooldown. Vengeful Retreat. Okay, Demon Hunters have a disengage, but it also does damage. So if you're standing close to this guy, if you watch, he's going to take damage when I do it. Boom, there it is. That's all there is to it. Great mobility piece also. Again, it's just disengage with some extra benefit. Then you've got Double Jump. We've already shown you this one. Works exactly how it says. You hit spacebar again and you're going to jump again. Mastery is Demonic Presence. Increases your chaos damage by 20% and your movement speed by 20%. Really solid piece. Love it. Again, this spec is all about mobility, and with that extra movement, that's going to help out a ton. Chaos damage, that's just damage on top of anything, guys. Almost all your abilities do chaos damage, at least your main damaging ones. And then Shattered Souls. This is an awesome little passive, and basically killing an enemy sometimes creates a soul fragment, When you approach it, healing you for 25% of maximum health and generating 30 fury. The soul fragment comes a demon and will deal 20% increased damage for 15 seconds. So basically, if you get a soul fragment from a demon, you're going to end up getting a little bit of a bonus edge in damage. And with that, guys, let's go ahead and move on to the talents. Alright, here's the talents. And as you can see, level 99, you've got Fell Mastery. Passive increases Fell Rush damage by 50% and grants 25 Fury when Fell Rush damages at least one target. This is going to be, again, Fell Rush doesn't seem to be that useful when doing stuff unless you're actually wanting to charge through a large group of mobs. And this is going to be the way you're going to want to go with it. Chaos Cleave, it's passive. Chaos Strike hits an additional target, so this is, again, it's going to do exactly what it's saying. It's going to be for a cleave situation. This is good for, I guess, trash situations because you do have a cooldown on Blade Dance, but you do enough AoE as it is, just naturally. And I don't see, I mean, unless you really, really want to get strong on AoE, this may be the way to go. And then Blind Fury increases duration of I-Beam by 50%. This is good in both single target and AoE situations, so I decided to go with it. Level 100, Prepared, passive, reduce the cooldown on Vengeful Retreat by 10 seconds and generates 40 Fury over 5 seconds if you damage at least one enemy with Vengeful Retreat. This is great for escape, I guess. Again, I didn't really do much with this because I didn't see a use for it, honestly. Most of the time I wanted to be in the fight and not out of it. Demon Blades replaces Demon's Bite. Now this is a way to simplify this rotation, and at level 100 you don't need no simple, it's like 3 buttons already at level 100. And passive, your auto attacks deal 50% chance to deal additional shadow damage and generate fury. So basically, in theory, every other hit should end up giving you fury, and it should also end up doing some extra shadow damage. This is okay, I guess, but it really bores out the gameplay. You no longer have Demon's Bite, which is like your main filler spell on your rotation. Demonic Appetite, passive. Chaos Strike has a chance to spawn a lesser soul fragment. Consuming any soul fragment grants 30 fury. So this increases your fury generation. Chaos Strike is your main single target damaging ability in the first place, and getting extra, you'll see this floating around. This was great in not only questing, because I was able to knock, you know, these extra little orbs off. Even though it was RNG, it happened enough to where I was able to keep myself healed on some of the larger, more insane pulls I was doing. And when I'm saying insane pulls, I was pulling anywhere between 10 and 15 mobs and making them disappear. That's basically how it was going. Level 102, Fellblade. I took this one because it was an extra ability, and like I said, you don't have very much at the very beginning, but you can go another route. And what this does is going to charge to your target, dealing 81,569 fire damage, and it generates 30 fury. But Demon's Bite, your main core rotation ability, your spammable fury ability, has a chance to reset this. Basically, this is going to just take priority over casting Demon's Bite whenever it's up. It's always going to generate 30 fury instead of a chance of 20 to 30 fury, and it also does more damage. Really fun ability, and it looks cool as hell. We'll go ahead and show this. Let me back up a little. And you've got some range. Here we go, guys. You just fly in and smack him. It helps out a ton, and it also builds on the mobility. Level 102, First Blood. Passive, reduce the fury cost of Blade Dance by 20 and increase its damage by 153,000, or up to 153,000 against the first target struck. Now this is what I was talking about on keeping Blade. If you've got Blade Dance, if you take this ability, obviously you're going to want to keep it in your single target rotation. I did not use this ability, but if you're doing cleave fights, this is going to help keep that first target actually taking more damage than anything. And it's a decent ability, guys. I've tried First Blood a few times. It works really good. It's got some good damage to it, but I didn't enjoy the gameplay on it, and I like the mobility of Fellblade and the increased fury generation. Then you've got Bloodlet. Throw Glaive causes targets to bleed for 190% of damage inflicted over 10 seconds. If this effect is reapplied, any remaining damage will be added to the new bloodlet. If you want to go with a good cleave setup, this is another way to do it. This is going to be more of an AoE situation than anything else, as to where this is still focusing single target and this is single target. So real good little set here, guys, and it's going to be dependent on what you want to play. Do you feel like doing more AoE? Do you want more single target? Do you even want the extra button, or do you want to go with, you know, keeping the buttons down? And that's basically it. Extra button, no extra button, AoE. 104, Nether Walk, replaces Blur, slip into the Nether, increasing movement speed by 100% and becoming immune to damage, but unable to attack. Lasts 5 seconds, 1.5 minute cooldown. Again, this is going to be a really nice cooldown if you feel like you're going to die. And I see maybe some possibilities to where this might work good. I don't know if you can still trigger mechanics, like if you got to blow something up, where this might end up working. But I'm not, again, I haven't tested this in a raid environment. Currently, Blur works pretty good, so I didn't go with Nether Walk. I went a different route. And with that, this is going to definitely need some testing, because I think in a raid environment, if it allows you to trigger mechanics, let's say like on Zool, where you've got the black hole. Alright, if you end up going into the black hole on Zool, basically like the rogues would cheat death and everything. I wonder if this would actually work the same way. Desperate Instincts replaces Blur passive. You automatically trigger Blur when you fall below 35% health. This effect cannot occur can only occur every 30 seconds. So yeah, basically, let's make this simple and you don't have to control your cooldown. That's basically all it's saying. And then you've got Soul Rending. Passive, gain 100% leech while Metamorphosis is active. This was a lifesaver on some of the pulls that I did, because I would get a little too greedy and, you know, go upwards into some extremely heavy amounts of damage. And I would just pop Metamorphosis, and the next thing you know, I was back up to full, and I would kill everything, including the rare elite that I might have pulled in the process. And yeah, I had a lot of situations where this helped out, including in dungeons. In dungeons, has saved my ass multiple times, just because it's either a weak healer or the healer is just overwhelmed trying to learn the new models and new mechanics and stuff, and it's just too much. 106, Momentum, Fell Rush and Vengeful Retreat, increase your damage done by 20% for 4 seconds. So if you got to stay extremely mobile, this is definitely going to end up helping you out with getting that initial damage back. Fell Eruption, enjoy the hell out of this spell. Impales the target for a very high amount of chaos damage and stuns them for 2 seconds. Inflicts an additional 100% damage against targets permanently immune to stuns. This is like the Warrior's Stormbolt. Very nice, or at least it was like the Warrior Stormbolt. Stormbolt's had a couple reiterations since Legion's launched, and I haven't gone back to look yet. But basically that's what this is going to do. It's going to hit them, it's going to stun them. If they can't be stunned, you're going to basically get double damage for this, and it is extremely powerful. Hits like a truck. But it is on a 35-second cooldown, and it costs 10 Fury. Nemesis, 50-yard range, instant, 2-minute cooldown. Increase the damage you inflict against the target by 15% for 1 minute. When the target is slain, you will inflict 15% additional damage against all creature types matching the original target, humanoid, dragonkin, etc., for the remaining duration. This is going to have some awesome powers. Let's say you've got a fight and you've got, you know, for example, Darkheart Thicket, you've got the dragon there. If you have this thing active and you kill one of the dragonkins, guess what? You're doing additional damage to that dragon. Alright? You kill one of those little whelps, you're doing additional damage to the dragon for the rest of the time. Absolutely insane amount of damage added on there for smaller fights if you have that opportunity to kill something in the same aspect. But without it, it's going to be a very situational use, so I stayed with Fell Eruption. 108, Master of the Glade. Throw Glaives now has 2 charges and snares all enemies hit by 50% for 6 seconds, so if you're having to do some kiting, this is going to be an awesome way to do it. Unleashed Power. Passive removes the Fury cost of Chaos Nova and reduces its cooldown by 33%. So really not a whole hell of a lot there, guys. Basically, you're looking at what, 45 seconds, maybe 40 seconds. Yeah, 40 seconds on the cooldown. So you're gonna see 40-second cooldown instead of a 1-minute cooldown, and then it's also not going to cost any fury, which 30 fury is not that much. It's very simple then to building it up. Demon Reborn passive. All your cooldowns are reset when you invoke Metamorphosis. This adds in some extremely awesome gameplay. Basically, you're going to want to make sure anything that's got a cooldown's on cooldown before you pop this. So your eye beams, if you took it, Fell Eruption, Fury of the Illidari, it gets reset by this also. Just a real interesting play. You're going to want to have this stuff on cooldown, then you hit your Metamorphosis, go through your Metamorphosis rotation, and all this stuff's already going to be back up. Even though Metamorphosis lasts 30 seconds to begin with, this is going to really help out. Level 110, Chaos Blades. Instant, 2-minute cooldown, increases all damage done by 20% based on mastery for 12 seconds. While active, your auto attacks deal 200% increased damage and causes chaos damage. This is just a decent 2-minute cooldown, guys. If you're needing more burst periods, this is great. This is going to help out a ton. Then you have Fell Barrage. This is more of an AoE. At your command, unleash Fell, inflicting minor chaos damage to your target and nearby enemies for each charge. Max 5 charges. Your damaging attacks have a chance to generate a charge. So basically, as you fight, this thing builds up and builds up and builds up. As you can see, it's a decent amount, guys. It turns into a decent amount of AoE, but it does have a timer. It does say 30-second recharge on there. That's going to build your charges at the same time, but basically, you're just going to blow this thing up at 5 charges and do some pretty sick damage. And then you have Demonic. This played in very nicely. It changed the gameplay yet again at level 110. So what does it do? Eye Beam causes you to enter demon form, and for 5 seconds after it finishes, dealing damage. So you're going to cast your Eye Beam. You're going to let it do its channel, but instead of using it as soon as you get the 50 Fury, you're going to want to actually cap out your Fury before using this ability, so you can go straight into your Annihilation rotation. And basically, Annihilation is Chaos Strikes, just improved, and it does a ton of damage. So when I say Annihilation rotation, you're going to hit Annihilation. If it crits, it's going to be ready for you to hit it again and again and again and again. Or you may have to end up hitting Demon's Bite. Now, when I've been lucky, I've gotten up to 5 because of, 1 second GCD. I've gotten 5 additional Annihilations on there. If you have to swap over to Demon's Bite, that's going to definitely end up... It's a little bit of an RNG factor, guys, but you can get some really good damage after Eye Beams just because of this. And Annihilation in almost everything, you'll see it in the logs, is top of the damage. So with this, guys, let's go ahead and move on to the actual artifact ability. Alright, the artifact. And we're going to take a look at the skins first, guys. And unfortunately, because of the way this one's set up, there's a little more spacing than usual. We are not going to be able to get the names in there. But the first set, your base set's actually called Twin Blades of the Deceiver. And they have some it's a decent looking model, really. It's got 4 different color variations, just like most of the artifacts. And this is going to be the red one. And if you look, there it is, the blue, the green. So we'll move on. Hand of the Illidari. These are insane. And I've seen a couple demon hunters running around with these, and they look awesome on the bodies. I mean, they fit well, they look well, and it's really a neat piece. And let it spin around so you can get one more look. There you go. That's what you're looking at with the different skins. Darkened Blade is going to be the next one. Yet another really awesome. Let's let it spin around before we go through the colors. And again, this one's called the Darkened Blade. Sorry about not having the names in there. Very, very neat. And then your PvP one's going to be Demon's Touch. And man, there's a lot of, I don't know, fell energy coming off of those, but they look really, really good. We'll let it spin around so you can get another real good look. And there you have it. Real nice looking. And with that, let's go ahead and move on to the traits. Alright, so here's the traits. And again, Fury of the Illidari is going to be your artifact ability that you will normally end up working with. What's this going to do? Yet again, we'll talk about it. It's going to throw a Twin Blade down, and it's going to spin around in circles, causing 152,000 chaos damage over 3 seconds to all nearby enemies. It's great in a cleave situation, and it also works pretty good as a fire and forget 1 minute cooldown on single target. First step out the door after you get these, though, is going to be Warglaives of Chaos. Rank 101, increases damage dealt by Chaos Strike by 15%. Really decent. Chaos Strike just hits like a truck, guys, and it is your main single target go-to damage ability. Sharpened Glaives, rank 3 of 3, increases damage dealt by throw glaives by 10%. This is started off as 3, then it went to 6, and then it's 10%. You've heard me talk about this before in my artifact and my other artifact traits, that some of these go 10% instead of 6 or 9, and it's just really wonky. Feast on the Souls, passive. When you consume a soul fragment, the remaining cooldown on I-Beam and Chaos Nova is reduced by 5 seconds. So, really, this is not too terrible. Deceiver's Fury, rank 0-3. You generate 5 Fury each time you dodge an attack or spell. So it's 5, 10, or 15. Fairly generic, guys. And really, this is going to be for questing only. So, unless for some reason you've got aggro on something in a raid situation or whatnot. But really, that's not going to be too bad. Inner Demon, rank 0-1. Chaos Strike has a chance to unleash your Inner Demon, causing it to crash into your target and deal 103,000 chaos damage to all nearby enemies. AoE, guys. Just random AoE from hitting your main attacking ability. No fun in this gameplay whatsoever, but it is a good amount of damage to help with AoE situations. Then you have Overwhelming Power, rank 0 of 3. When Chaos Nova stuns a target, it has a 10% chance to generate a soul fragment, so 10, 20, and 30%. Chaos Vision. Now I've got this maxed out 5 of 5. The reason for it is because I have 2 relics that both improve the same thing. Not by choice, just the way RNG rolled it, I guess. So what this is going to end up doing, it's up to 25%, but it's 5, 10, or 15% normally. And then I've got it improved twice, so it's going to be 20 and 25 from there. And then you've got the second gold star we're going to come to, and I'm actually spec'd into this, and it does some insane amount of damage. But each time I-Beam deals damage to a target, it also applies Anguish. When Anguish expires, it deals an additional 8,561 chaos damage to the target per application. As you've seen with I-Beams, it does a whole bunch of little ticks on there. It usually hits about 10 times whenever you cast it, so you're looking at right around 85,000 additional damage. Demon Rage, rank 0 of 3, increases damage dealt by Demon's Bite by 3, 6, and I'm going to say 10% because that seems to be the way that they've been going. Contained Fury, rank 0 of 3, increases maximum Fury by 10, 20, or 30%. Last gold dragon here, Rage of the Illidari. When Fury of the Illidari ends, 100% of the damage it dealt erupts in an explosion of energy, dividing that chaos damage among all nearby enemies. Now again, Fury of the Illidari is going to be your artifact ability. Illidari Knowledge, rank 0 of 3, reduces magic damage you take by 4, 8, and 12%, most likely. Demon Speed, rank 0-1. Activating Blur generates 2 charges of Fel Rush, so basically you can not only try and avoid damage, but you're also going to want to get your ass out of there as quick as possible in most situations you use this. Unleash Demons, rank 0-3, reduces the cooldown of Metamorphosis by 20, 40, or 60. So basically, at max, this is going to make your 5-minute cooldown a 4-minute cooldown. Is that great? Not really, but is it bad? No, just means you get to use it twice in a fight, more than likely. Longer raid fights to where they're going, 5, 6 minutes. This is going to help out. And then the last one's going to be Balanced Blades. Rank 0-1, increases damage dealt by Blade Dance by 10% for each target within 8 yards. This is just going to improve your mass cleave. The more people you have, the more that you're hitting, guys. And again, this in some of the pulls that I've done, I probably should have gone with this ability. But the more that you have being hit by your Blade Dance, the more damage it's going to do, and it's absolutely insane damage off of it to begin with. So, with that guys, let's go ahead and talk about the gameplay. So we're here to talk about the Demon Hunter gameplay, and as mentioned before, this thing starts off extremely slow and boring. But as you level up and you get the talents to improve this rotation, it gets quite a bit better. So what are we looking at here, guys? Single target rotation generally is going to rely on Demon's Bite and Chaos Strike. Those are going to be your main two abilities, and then you've also can spec into Fellblade at a later level to actually end up getting a difference in your rotation. But most of the time in a single target fight, you're going to be relying on Demon's Blade and Chaos Strike. Really not a whole hell of a lot going on there. And then you've also got Blade Dance. Blade Dance is going to be great for AoE situations. It's going to do some really good damage, and it plays nicely. It plays very nicely, and you've got ways of improving this so you can use it in your single target rotation also. But is it worth it when you start getting towards level 110? Not really, because you've got other abilities like Fell Eruption that'll end up playing into this even better. There's a lot of ways to spec this thing. You can keep it very, very basic. Or you can make it to where your simple 2-button rotation can actually be improved to a 4 to 5 button rotation, and it helps out a ton. I-beams, this is great in all situations. 45-second cooldown, and this thing is just going to wreck anything that's in front of you, but positioning is key. So, with this being said, let's go ahead and talk about an AoE situation. Most of the time, if you got the time for it to be off cooldown for the next boss fight, what you're going to want to do is actually get into the fight, start off, and go through a single target rotation, but just throw Blade Dance into it. Alright, and then you're going to want to end up using I-beams and make sure you're targeting it to where almost everything in front of you, or all the mobs that are pulled, are right in front of you before you use it. If you end up using this thing before then, you're going to have some major issues. It's really hard to end up hitting all the targets because they like to spread out for some damn reason, and it makes it a little difficult. So if you back away from the group a little bit before you use I-beams, helps out a ton. Fury of the Illidari, your artifact ability, this is also extremely good for AoE, and I recommend using this thing as much as possible on trash pools just to help get it nuked down fast. Helps, again, a ton. This thing, the Demon Hunter feels strongest on an AoE pool. Does that mean they're a weak single target? No, it doesn't. Let's talk boss rotation real fast. And the boss rotation, mainly the way you're going to want to do this, and it's going to be dependent on how long it lives and so on and so forth, but let's say in a 5-man boss situation, what I found to be best is starting off with Fellblade, obviously, to get you in there, get you in contact with the boss, get your Fell Eruption on cooldown, get your I-beams on cooldown, get your Fury of the Illidari on cooldown, and if you ended up taking the level 100 talent that made I-beams turn you into the Metamorphosis, into your demon form, this is going to be another gameplay changer. So you're going to want to make sure when I-beam goes on cooldown, everything else that's supposed to be on cooldown's on cooldown, and you are capped out on Fury, so you can get a couple free annihilations in. Once that's all done and everything else is on cooldown, go ahead and pop your Metamorphosis, get into that demon form, and you're also going to want to make sure you're pretty high in Fury when you do this, so you don't waste any time, and go into an Annihilation Demon Bite rotation. The only time you're going to want to hit Demon Bite is when you cannot cast Annihilation anymore, and again, Annihilation is a spell that fills in for Chaos Strike. Chaos Strike is your main bread and butter, but Annihilation is going to be where you really want to make this gameplay change. This spec is not hard by any means. It is extremely simple. It is very easy to see what's supposed to end up coming up in almost every situation. What you really need to learn is basic priorities, and then everything will just line up for you. I mean, it'll line up for you. But in a single target situation, unless you're spec'd into it, Blade Dance is a waste. It costs, it costs Fury, and it also hits for about half as much as what Chaos Strike will, and about, a third of the cost of Annihilation. It's not worth it, guys. It's not worth it, and when you get in here and you start playing this thing, you'll realize at the very beginning it is a little bit on the boring side. It is. But it does get progressively more fun. I had more fun after about level 106 with this spec than I did with a lot of the other specs, just because it starts getting that progression. You've got this mass AoE capabilities. The questing ends up getting a little bit more fun to end up dealing with. There's a lot to really end up doing. And it's got some really awesome utility behind it also. Really awesome. You've got your Chaos Nova for stunning and interrupting. You've also got your Darkness, or whatever that damn ability is, for helping with some certain situations, as long as the tank doesn't pull them out, to help counter out some spell and physical damage. All in all, the spec plays very nicely. It's very well utilized. And it's a hero spec, guys. It's exactly what it is. It's not the hardest spec on the planet, but it does some really decent damage, and it plays out well. And with this, let's go ahead and move on to the actual log so you can see where the damage comes from. Alright, so here we have it, guys. This is actually going to be Yimmeron, the Fallen King, in the Mauve Souls. And basically, this is the first boss in there. And what you're looking at damage-wise, Fell Eruption was my first ability as I was running in. And then you can see I-Beam, so on and so forth, how this is playing out. And this is the Annihilation Spike while you're in Metamorphosis. How much damage you're actually doing. Now you'll see that Annihilation's got two different colors here. Alright. The reason for this is Annihilation works with both hands. That's why you'll see here two Annihilations. Main hand, off hand. Fairly basic on there, but this is a huge amount of your damage. And you can see the offhand spikes where it's really been high at. And then I-beams. So let's break this down. Annihilation. You've got your main hand Annihilation, and it does have a chance to crit just like anything else. And highest crit on that was actually 354,000. That's just with the main hand. You hit with both weapons, guys. And they've really separated this quite a bit to where not only do you end up, a lot of abilities are doing this to where they've got like a double strike hit, or they end up doing some crazy thing. It seems to be the new Legion combat model, and I don't know why they're doing it that way, maybe to throw off some sims, but it plays very, very well. And you've got a chance to crit with each one of these hits in most situations, which really adjusts modifiers a lot. Now, Annihilation, again, this is your top ability. The way you end up getting this is whenever you end up going in the demon form, you can actually see the artifact ability right there, but you slice your target for a huge amount of chaos damage. And it's got the modifier in there, but I will definitely end up making sure you know more about this ability. But this is what Chaos Strike turns into. Really high damage. Then you've got Fellblade. And again, this is a talent, guys. This is a talent. It plays good, and it does some really decent damage. As you can see, it crit 44% of the time, so that's one of the reasons why it's so far up. Crit is going to be very important to this spec for a lot of different reasons. Then you've got Demon's Bite. This is your filler spell. This is where a lot of your damage comes in at. I-beams right below it. Only 2 casts off of it, but as you can see, I got 28 different hits. This was before I actually got the Golden Dragon that increased the damage on the blow up afterwards. So Chaos Strike, it's here. This is your main single target filler. And then you've got Fell Eruption, which is another talent. Again, this does a hard amount of damage. We've got a total of 3 casts off, or 3 hits with it. It doesn't count it as a cast apparently. But we got 3 hits with this thing. And as you can see, the critical strike damage on that, alright, 474,000 damage off of critting with this one ability. 35-second cooldown, this thing hits like a truck. Chaos Strike, again, you got your main hand, you've got your offhand. That's just the way this seems to end up playing out. Melee, just general swings, nothing big. And then your Fury of the Illidari, again, it doesn't do a whole hell of a lot. But because you got 2 glaives, that's why you got 2 different deals here. And it's roughly about 3% of the damage with 2 casts, guys. So not a whole lot. And Metamorphosis, the reason why this is so low is this is just the initial burst damage that you get. All your other damage is going to be in Annihilation here. So just a general, I mean, minute 30 fight here. nothing big, guys. You can see that there is a gap in time right here, and the reason for that gap in time was actually having to run away from the target for a bit, so nothing big. And again, the damage spikes around Metamorphosis are quite high, and that's just the way it's going to end up playing out. So, with this being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed yourself. If you did, you know what to do. And as always, thanks for watching.